Today's video is sponsored by scdkey.com. It is an amazing platform where you can purchase game codes and game keys at a very discounted rate, which is awesome because now I can provide you guys with an even more discounted rate using my code. The SCDKey homepage is easy to use. The site is easy to use. They have all sorts of different categories for keys. We have PC game keys, Steam CD keys, Origin CD keys, Uplay CD keys, PSN prepaid card, Xbox prepaid cards, pretty much anything related to gaming you can get here, and you can usually get at a discounted rate. Here you're always going to get a great deal. They have pre-order products available, unlike a lot of the key sites that I was using, and software keys for even things like Windows 10 and Windows 10 Pro. And a lot of these are global keys like Windows 10. At the moment, you can get the Shadow of the Tomb Raider Steam CD key using the special discount code I have to offer you today. You're seeing it on screen right now, right where you put that promo code in at the payment method page. So guys, check out scdkey.com to get awesome games and software. Use the codes in the description. For a 3% game key code, you can use the code ED3. For a 10% software key code, you can use the code ED1. Again, this video is sponsored by scdkey.com. An amazing place, a place that I stand behind, a place that I have used personally, and a place that I will continue to use. Using that code will help not only them out, will not help only you out, but also help me out. And obviously, as I've talked about recently, Shadow of the Tomb Raider series is something that I personally very much enjoy, so check that out there. Now onto the video, guys. And before I start this video, yes, the Spider-Man video will be addressed in the next discussion video, so be on the lookout for that.
Look at that! Let me see!
What's got these guys so excited?
Unbelievable!
Player's Choice games for N64. Turok, Mario Kart, Wave Race, Star Fox.
Oh man!
Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Cruis'n USA, and Super Mario.
I think I'm in love.
Each one of these great games is just $39.95.
What's going on here?
And each one is a million seller. Just look for the Player's Choice logo.
You know what Nintendo doesn't get enough credit for? Besides being amazing at artificial scarcity. Being weirder than anyone else on the market. In the marketing drop-off that was the Wii U and Wii era, people forget that the great people at Nintendo are responsible for some of the greatest and most insane video game marketing in the history of the medium. They have made some missteps, sure, but Nintendo has managed to define clear marketing objectives for each of their generations of consoles, and for better or for worse, has followed through on those directives from beginning to end in terms of their ascent in the West. So today we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo's commercial and marketing history from generation to generation, console to console. And hopefully by the end of this essay we'll be able to crown a winner as to which generation saw Nintendo at the peak of their commercial and marketing game. Now we are only going to be looking at the marketing done in the West, but we will hit each home console all the way up to the Nintendo Switch. So to start, let's go all the way back to the 80s. Okay, so let's clarify something right off the bat. Nintendo's marketing gets extremely weird and borderline ridiculous starting with the N64 era, but the NES era was a different story. Video games were a dying breed of media when the NES rolled around, and the video game crash was a reality that had game makers and console makers alike shaking in their boots. Nintendo's marketing strategy during the NES era was simple. In America, the idea was just to make sure that people knew the system existed. Keeping that in mind, video game marketing was a relatively new reality in America. But this didn't stop Nintendo from putting out some real treasures of 80s cheese, mostly relying on the ever-popular futurism vibe of the 80s, while throwing in some comedy like this commercial that plays on the stereotypical nerdy nature of gaming, before having Goggles McGee here burst into a rap about the legend of Zelda. For the most part though, Nintendo kept it pretty tame, opting to buy out mass store positioning in toy stores, take out a wealth of magazine ads, and play it straight through commercial marketing. Until this commercial hit the TV. Now, no one is quite sure where this commercial actually aired, whether it was in the US or Australia, the two most likely culprits. But what is known is that this commercial was run in a very limited capacity, and that's most likely because it was terrifying as all hell, and certainly wasn't going to do a great job of selling the system.
You cannot beat us. We are Nintendo. We challenge for this. You cannot beat us.
Nintendo was all over the place, as was every company during this era, as gaming companies tried to figure out how best to market a medium that was as new to them as it was to us in America. By the time the SNES era rolled around, gaming had turned a real corner. And something that many people forget is that the traditional media was actually going after Nintendo and gaming in general for being expensive, bad for children, and poor for society as a whole. That may have played a role in the marketing of the SNES, a system that was in a heated battle with a blue hedgehog whose marketing consisted of, hey, you know what sucks? The SNES. You know what doesn't? The Genesis. Which actually worked out well for Sega, but not well enough as we know today that it was outsold quite spectacularly by the SNES. The marketing of the SNES was very tame, almost like the calm before the storm that was Nintendo's marketing strategy from the N64 on. We got commercials that starred an unknown Paul Rudd well before his launch into stardom. We got interesting commercials pitched like mattresses, and then there was this, well, maybe the grossest commercial I have ever personally laid my eyes on.
Is too much, too much? To find out who crammed everything into Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. 60 more levels, massive enemies, huge Yoshi tricks, all served up with the latest graphic technology, Morphmation.
No more.
Sure you don't have room for another little bonus level? Super Mario World 2, only on the Super NES, still the big one.
This monstrosity of a commercial laid the groundwork for what I'm going to refer to as the start of Nintendo's Attitude Era, an era which began with the N64. The N64 was an interesting era for Nintendo as a whole, an era that I'm going to refer to in this essay as the Attitude Era. Sega had marketed the previous generation's Genesis as the bad boy of the console space with its rebellious blue blur right at the center. Sega attempted to paint the SNES as a system for little kids, whereas the Genesis was a system for teens and adults, and I think that in response to this, Nintendo decided to market extremely differently when the N64 rolled around. They tried to paint their new 64-bit system as the big brother to all systems on the market, and one that was for teens and adults alike, in the same vein as the Genesis. And in an effort to appeal to the teen market, well, they got weird. The Peephole commercial that opened this essay was just the beginning. We got commercials like this fast food one, in which a kid's check was all he needed to get his system. There was this Smash Bros commercial in which Nintendo's mascots beat the hell out of each other with humans in bodysuits. Then there was this Conker commercial that included a drugged up conversing with her friend, as Conker, played here by a taxidermied squirrel, makes all sorts of audible bowel movements in the background, but nothing quite tops this commercial.
Son, life isn't all about money. Nah, family, health, happiness, those are the important things. I guess what I'm really trying to say is, how much will it cost to keep this from your mother?
$39.95. That's all you need for these super cool Nintendo 64 games. All bestsellers and all players' choice. Hey, at these prices, maybe you can get two.
Grandpa?
Rated E for everyone.
I have no idea who pitched this, I have no idea who Nintendo was targeting with this commercial, but it is one of the greatest, most ridiculous video game commercials of all time, and the doubling down with the cross-dressing grandfather is just the right amount of overkill. Nintendo of America was pleased with their marketing throughout the life cycle of the N64, and decided that the GameCube would be an opportunity to take the same approach, but to an even stranger level.
No music all day.
The GameCube itself was strange from the very beginning. Essentially a giant disc-playing square Lego with a handle. Nintendo knew exactly what this system was, and it was a massive departure from what the Xbox and PS2 were in terms of design. The best word to describe Nintendo of America's marketing approach for the GameCube is nonsensical. Some of the commercials and ads Nintendo created for the GameCube were just assaults on the senses with no real purpose, and they were awesome. There were commercials like this for the Wavebird controller, in which a child appears to be doing something sordid underneath the dinner table, only to be holding the Wavebird and playing a game. There were weird sexually charged adverts that serve literally no purpose, like this one, in which a dude attempts to start making out with a girl he doesn't even appear to know. And then there were commercials like this.
Here's the true story.
Of four friends picked to live in a video game.
And find out what happens when they stop being themselves.
And start being someone else.
Animal Crossing for Nintendo GameCube.
A walrus moved into the village today.
Hot.
I just been fishing, you know, seeing some pals.
All Rob does is fish. Fish and see his pals. I'm the one getting the job, tending the
Welcome to Animal Crossing, the life game that's happening every minute of every day, whether you're playing or not.
Hey, it's called a lawnmower. Other people have to live here too, you know.
Rated E for everyone.
Commercials like these did nothing to sell the actual system or game, but man were they awesome, and they gave Nintendo an edge that, despite being trounced in sales by the stiff competition of this generation, Nintendo showed that they were okay being different, that they were okay operating and marketing behind their first-party output, as opposed to a reliance on third-party games to be the face of their marketing, like their competition had often relied on during this generation. And it's a good thing too, because their insistence on doing their own thing in the console space would become their mantra as we move forward into the Wii era. Nintendo knew that they were past the days of competing in the power struggle that the traditional console space had been enveloped by over the years leading up to the Wii, and with that, they shifted their marketing strategy quite significantly, bringing the unfortunate end to Nintendo's glorious Attitude Era. With the Wii, we got arguably the tamest, most family-friendly Nintendo advertising campaign that the company had created since the NES. The Wii was a system that Nintendo wanted to market to literally everyone, and thus the idea of attacking or turning off a particular demographic with edgy marketing was a big no-go for the big end. And that left us with, well, some mediocre commercials and marketing that weren't necessarily for anybody and intended to be for everybody. I think the best commercial to come from the Wii era was probably this one.
It's the holidays, the whole family's here, so I got us a Wii system to play together. Alright, let's do this. The family that plays together stays together.
Jump on your dad! Jump on your dad! No! Don't jump! No!
My family adores me.
You are really a disappointment.
It's gonna be a great Christmas.
And even in that commercial, which is admittedly humorous, but clearly goes after the family viewer, pushed the Wii as a console for, again, everyone. As you can see, the kids, the parents, and even the grandparents playing the Wii in this commercial, but these weren't spectacular pieces of marketing. And honestly, I think the best marketing for the Wii didn't even come from Nintendo themselves. Well, kind of. See, I think a good chunk of the marketing for the Wii actually came from all of the amazing Wiimote accidents that spread across the internet like wildfire. It got the Wii's name out there and on the front page of the internet and in the mouths of kids everywhere, essentially making the Wii viral. And accidental free marketing of any kind, is the best kind. And on top of that, the artificial scarcity strategy that may or may not have been deployed by Nintendo during the system's first years on the market also sold the Wii far more than any traditional marketing could have.
Why?
Everyone that watches this channel knows that I am a fan and supporter of Nintendo and all three companies that work in the console space. But you probably also know that I am about to be very unkind to Nintendo for this particular segment. The Wii U era consisted of some of the worst marketing, from top to bottom, that I have ever bared witness to from a company in the video game space. It was atrocious from beginning to end. In the pursuit of riding the coattails of the Wii, Nintendo forgot that the Wii was the only console that was selling to non-gamers and gamers alike, and that over half of their sales were coming from an extremely casual audience, which by the way is perfectly fine and even great, but it also means that the Wii had true mass market appeal. And in forgetting this, Nintendo sent the Wii U out to die, as I have said time and again. We beat the E3 reveal to death, so let's move beyond that. Nintendo's mass marketing with the Wii U was done, as with most console makers at this point, mainly through commercials and video adverts. And by God, were they some of the worst commercials I have ever seen. All of the Wii's commercials, trailers, YouTube spots were terrible, from the beginning of the system's life cycle all the way to its final days. And even if you forget the confusing reveal, the confusing system itself, and its lack of third-party support, Nintendo's marketing teams were doing the system absolutely no favors. And yet somehow, Nintendo has turned it around. Sure, the commercials for the Switch aren't filled with the sheer joy of the 80s Nintendo or the zaniness of the Attitude Era, but they are incredible pieces of marketing nonetheless. They do exactly what they are designed to do. Nintendo is marketing the Switch as a system for gamers and has done an excellent job of marketing it towards the demographic that can actually go out and buy one. The commercials are cool, they're sleek, and they show the consumer exactly what the system can offer and what it can do. They do the one thing marketing is supposed to do: force the desire of the product onto the consumer, and they do so by showing the Switch in ways that people might actually use them, like this one. Now, I think it is worth noting that using the Switch in the bathroom is a feature that should be on the back of the box. The Switch's marketing campaign is Nintendo taking everything it's learned from its failures of marketing the Wii U, to the edginess that might have gone too far with trying to sell the GameCube, and combining that knowledge to sell a system that is worth buying. The Switch is great, but without the fantastic marketing Nintendo has put behind it, I don't know that it would be sold out everywhere like it is today. It takes a great product and a great direction to be successful, and Nintendo has nailed it in 2017. So I want you guys to let me know, which era of Nintendo marketing would you crown king? For me personally, it has to be the absolute ridiculousness that was the GameCube era, a period of time where I swear no one watched those commercials before airing them. Look, I'm excited about what's next. Maybe a second go at the Attitude Era? I'd love that, but probably not. I think Nintendo is finally at a point where they're just okay being Nintendo without having to scream it from the rooftops and shout that they're different. And the reality is that they've earned that, but come on. Maybe just one more cross-dressing commercial? Maybe?
Well, we hit you with another one of